let's make some bread. Let's make a lot of bread. This week we are going to be making some big bulk baking of sourdough discard bread as well as my regular yeast bread. I'm hoping to get a lot of loaves this in the next 2 days to put in my freezer. But before we get started, before I go into why I do this kind of big baking, if you're new to our channel, I'm Julia. I'm one half of the Canny couple. We're a small homestead family in rural Virginia that work every single day to merge homesteading frugality. And one of the things that I really focus on as a homesteader, as a frugal mom, as somebody who's trying to pinch our pennies and watch our dollars, I really try to make the absolute most of when I turn my oven on. I know there's frugal people out there that swear that turning that oven on does not increase your electricity costs. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I know this because we can watch those trends. I know when I cook, and I know if I have the oven on when I cook, that it's going to spike every single time. Never ever fails. So I really try to make sure I maximize when that oven is on to get the most bang for my buck. So that's why when I bake bread, especially in the summertime when it's hot, I try to make it at night. As you can tell, it kind of looks a little dark on my window. It's late at night, and this recipe is a longer recipe, a longer time frame recipe. The sourdough, that's what we're starting now. But I try to do it at night when it's cooler. It's not going to heat my house up. I'm not going to have to do a lot of extra work to keep the house cool. So let's talk about the two recipes we're doing. So tonight we're going to get started on the sourdough discard bread. Now, yes, I'm like everybody else. I love a good sourdough artisanal bread. I'm not the one to make it. I've done it. I just don't like making it. It's too much work for me. It really is. Anything that I have to babysit, set timers for, I'm done. I am so done. I'm like, I don't have time to babysit you. I don't have time to babysit anybody else and have to watch for the correct, when is it right? When is it just right? When is the proof finished? When is it overproofed? It's just too finicky for me. Now, I know there's a lot of sourdough people out there that make it really, really easy. And I've used their recipes. Just for me, personally, it's not really worth the time and effort for me. Now, I found a discard recipe that is almost exactly like my regular bread recipe. The only difference is the recipe actually called for potato flake starter. I don't use potato flake starter. So when I tried it with my regular starter. You want to know what? It tasted just like the sourdough bread you get from the Amish store, which is Aaron's favorite. He's like, this is what I want from now on. You don't have to make that other fancy stuff and blow up the stove with how hot it has to get and everything. This is just super basic, super simple, and it is for the most part almost exactly like my regular recipe, except we're using sourdough discard versus using yeast. So let's get started into this recipe. Like I said, now when we first tried this, we tried, it was very good. Her recipe is very good. It's amazing. But it's also very sweet with the potato starter. Super, super sweet. And I'm really trying to watch the sugar intake and all of that as well. I know you like carbs with bread. When I eat a piece of bread, it is like half the size of a regular piece of bread, and I really try to watch that. But and even for like Isabel, like a sandwich is like a half of a piece of bread because it's just what she'll eat regularly. So we're going to start off, and this is how I do it. You can do it however you want to, but I try to make this really easy on myself. So I'm going to start with my sourdough starter. So we're doing this times 3. So this recipe will make 3 loaves of bread. So we are going to be making 9 loaves of bread, but it's not going to be all bread. We're going to make as many loaves as I can make with pans, and they might not be beautiful loaves, but they will be loaves. We're going to make as many loaves as we can, but we are also going to be making rolls, some hoagie rolls, everything that we can think of to do this. So we're going to do this for the sourdough. We're also going to be doing this for the yeast bread as well. So it's going to be a lot of bread in the freezer. So I've got 4 cups of discard, and I've got a bunch more discard into my fridge, and we're going to make later. We're going to be making some sourdough discard pancakes. So I'm going to pour this into my bowl. And now I'm going to start by adding some water because we have to have enough starter in warm water to make 2.5 cups per batch. So if we do the math, that was 4 cups. So we would have to have 5 plus another 1.5 cups. So we need to, sorry, I'm having to do the math really fast. I need to add 1.5 cups of water to this to get to the amount that we needed, because we started with 2 cups of starter for each. So 1.5 cups, and I'm just going to use this. And if you see my water, it is not dirty. This is what I have the sourdough discarded, and this was just for this particular meal. I had a couple of other jars going as well, because I don't have one of those big fancy jars they use for sourdough discard. I have to do mine in a whole bunch of little ones. So I was like, well, I'm not going to waste the discard in this. I'll just put my warm water in here and get as much of that out of there as I can. So we're going to get 1.5 cups. So we're going to pour it in here. And set it to the side. Then we'll add oil. And this recipe calls for 1/2 cup per batch. So we're going to use 1/4 of a cup. So we're going to do 6 of these. And we have to make sure we're careful. This gets where it gets hard with the little. When you're big batch cooking, you're like, I can't do this. I've got 5 kids. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. I have 1. And trust me, when I'm trying to count, I normally send her to Erin. But a lot of times it's Erin that's disrupting my count. Believe it or not, I'm like, you've got to stop. I've got to count like 10 more cups of something. I need you to just let me do this. He understands. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Okay, got that. And I use olive oil. You can use whatever oil you like. I use olive oil. We use it for everything. I don't have any other types of oil other than butter and like bacon grease or things like that. And let's see, hot water, we add our oil. Okay, and then now this recipe, she calls for you to mix all your dry ingredients. I don't do any of that. I do not. I never have. You can, yes. I don't see a difference. I just start adding and mixing. So here we go. Here it is. Here's our start. We're gonna start mixing slowly but surely. We're gonna get some bread going here. And like I said, it is late at night. The little one, put her to sleep, and she's having a whoop, and I dropped the spoon. Of course I did. And this is why I have an extra spoon. So we're going to get some salt, and it's 1/2 a teaspoon to a tablespoon, which if you know, or not 1/2 a teaspoon, 1/2 a tablespoon to a tablespoon. So that's about one, you know, if you do the math, about a couple of teaspoons, depending on how much salt you do. And I'm gonna do one more, because that's not quite where I would want it to be. So it's gonna be a pretty good one. Okay, and then we have our sugar, and then I will probably start adding flour to it before I actually do anything else. And this takes 1/3 of a cup of sugar. Now, if you're using a sourdough starter, not sourdough, potato sourdough starter, the way you feed it is you actually feed it with sugar, which is what makes it so sweet. You use, like, depending on the recipe, it's 3/4 of a cup of sugar, some water, and 3 tablespoons of your potato flakes. Now, we are going to be making a potato-based starter. We are going to be making some bread, more like a pinwheel. Because she had these pinwheel-like things. They were amazing. So we are going to be doing that. That's just not a today project, because I could not find potato flakes that were just potato flakes. They had all the other ingredients in it, and you know, we really do try extremely hard to avoid that. We try to make sure all of our ingredients are whole ingredients in, you know, do as good as we can with our budget. So I do really try to watch those things. So let's get our flour. Now we're gonna need a lot of flour. So we're gonna need at minimum about 14 to 15 cups of flour. We might need more. Now, again, we have to be careful because we're using a completely different type of starter. So, like with any bread you're working with feel. That's kind of how I look at it. As you start making bread, and I would tell you every single day, all day long, if sourdough intimidates you, you've never made bread, start with yeast bread. So easy. So easy. And I'm telling you, this is somebody who messed up her very first yeast bread so bad, nobody ate it. But I can make biscuits like nobody else business. They be coming out of the pan, put on the table, they'd be gone within, I'm making 2 pans of biscuits a day. So, but I could not make bread at that point. So we're just going to start with our first 5 cups of flour. Excuse me, I have a little itch. So you're like, Julia, why on earth are you making all of this bread? I can hear you asking me this. You're not a big family. There's 3 of you. You don't need to have this much bread. Nobody needs this much bread. Well, no, I don't need this much bread right now. But future me and, you know, super mom me that can whip out a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in a couple of hours or a couple of minutes really appreciates having sandwich bread on hand. She really does. Especially when it's hot. So right now we've actually kind of got a cool spell. This is cup number 3. It's kind of gotten a little cool. Like we're in the 60s in the evening versus the 70s and 80s. So it has gotten very nice very quickly. Like all of a sudden our weather just switched. We live in Virginia. That's normal. It will be super hot one day and then it will be snowing the next. So that's kind of what you live in when you live in the Appalachians. The weather can get kind of crazy. But it's kind of got a little cool and I'm not counting on this glass. So I want to get some bread made because for me to run my oven, it's the reason why I hadn't so far. It's my house so hot. No matter what I do, even if I do it at night, it still gets my house so warm. So we're just going to slowly start to mix and just slowly incorporate this first batch of flour. And again, we want to make this like we would any other dough. It will firm up, it will do, and we're just really looking to get the right consistency here. And again, this is not her recipe. I took inspiration and took the recipe that I use for my own bread and kind of combined the two. I never really thought to actually take and make my own bread recipe, a sourdough starter, a discard recipe. I should have. Now, the reason I'm instead of doing like 6 of this type of bread and doing the yeast bread is because we are still trying to see what is bothering, what's causing Aaron's issue. We want to see if sourdough will mess it up and see what's actually causing it. What is the problem? Because we've been kind of trying a few different things and I really don't want to do a full food elimination diet, but it is seeming like we're looking for triggers and we're wondering if sourdough is one. Now I'm going to go ahead and put another 5 cups of flour in here. We'll go a little more. And I know a lot of you are like, aren't you intimidated by just this much bread, this much of a task? Because not only do you have to mix it and make it and knead it and all of that stuff, but then you also have to put it together, put it in pans, bake it, store it and all that. And I would tell you it's a lot of work, but I'd rather do it all one time, have one mess, clean up the mess one time, than have to do this a lot of times. I really do hate cleaning up multiple messes. So I will do bread and I will even cut them down even more. So if I do like one batch of bread, I will do my little loaves, my 2 loaf pans, but then I will make those loaves. I will actually put 2 small loaves in one loaf pan and I will do mini loaves. So I only have to pull out a mini loaf because that's good size for us to start with. I can use these breads for croutons, for salad. I can use them for anything in this world. So for me, it really does not make sense to not go ahead and just get her done. Get it done, get it in the freezer, get it finished. I do not want to have to be thinking about this at any point in time later in the future. So I'm actually going to empty out this. I might need a little water, but I still have to add some more. I know I have to add some more flour to this, so I'm going to pour in some of this hot water that I have. And when I do anything, I told y'all when I bake bread, when I do sourdough, my sourdough is really simple. I don't weigh it. I don't do any of that. I tried it, and I'm going to tell you something. When I weighed it, I had no lift. Lady lifts a lot, did not lift at all. She did. Nope. She didn't want any part of it. Wanted no part of lifting at all when I measured. But when I went back to my original method, which is just kind of putting in part to part to part, or like if I'm going to bulk it up, I'll do 1 part starter, 5 parts water, 5 parts flour, like a cup. I'll do 5 cups starter, 5 cups, 5 cups starter, 5 cups of this, 1 cup of starter, 5 cups of flour, 5 cups of water to really kind of get a fast feed if she's really hungry. I never really have any issues with that, never. But if I try to do it any other way, it just did not work for me. So, despite the fact that I tried to do this the way the sourdough goddesses out there, and you know, all of those that are super talented with sourdough do it, I'm just not that gifted. I just kind of have to do it my own way, learn to do it my own way, manage it how it works for me, and I found just keeping my sourdough simple works for me. I tend to keep her in the fridge until I'm ready to use her, take her out for a few days, get her very small amount, lifting her eyes for a few days, and I'll go ahead and use it. But I don't do a whole lot of extra work. I don't filter my water, none of that, but my water is well water that's tapped into a spring. So I don't really have to worry about like city water or anything like that. And I don't like do temperature readings on my water where they're like, your water has to be exactly this degree, and I'm like, I don't do any of that. I like the discard recipes. It's another thing I like about them. I don't have to come over here and be as like diligent with, you know, sourdough itself, because not only are you having to watch the bread, you have to watch when is the sourdough at peak, and that's when you have to use it. I will typically just use the discard. I found it works a lot better for us. Tastes just as good. If not better. Like I said, Aaron really preferred this recipe compared to that. I put a little bit of water in there, about half that I had. Now we're just going to start our kneading process. Now, we do this in 2 rises, and this is a sourdough discard recipe. So, this was the thing that really made me look at this recipe. I typically, when I do sourdough discard, I will let whatever recipe I'm working on sit for 12 to 24 hours every single time, even if the recipe doesn't call for it. To me, it doesn't make sense if you don't give like the sourdough, even if it's not bubbly and active, time to actually do what sourdough does, which is part of the reason why you kind of let it sit, you kind of let it do the fermenting. And I don't know the science behind it, so don't come over here and yell at me. This just makes sense in my head. And I've seen a few other people talk about discard, like you've got to make sure you're not missing this part of the step whenever I'm really getting into it. And I have found my recipes all work out really well. Never had any issues. But this recipe does call for your first proof. It's not like an hour like you would use with yeast bread. This does take 12 hours, 8 to 12 hours. I'm going to let it sit for 12. And I'm actually going to split it between 2 bowls. So I have 1 bowl and another bowl. I'll cover them up, leave them here on my counter. My house is about 70 to 73 degrees right now, so comfortable. You can tell we're getting that. It's really nice. You can tell it's just, it feels just like my regular bread recipe, which is sourdough. You can kind of smell it. I know when my sourdough wasn't as sour. My starter wasn't as sour. Aaron didn't like the bread as good. He really likes the one the sourdough itself is super sour. So I tried to do this, excuse me. I tried to do this between, you know, longer batches. I tried to give myself time to let the sourdough kind of go down. And then in a month I'll try to make some more. But I made it a few times for him. He and Isabel both really like it. And I like having bread just to pull out for breakfast or for lunch or for dinners, depending on how busy we are. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I try not to feed sandwiches all the time, but sometimes it's what life gives us. And if we have really good bread to go with it, does it really matter? So I'm just pulling in all those little pieces. If you make bread, you know what I'm talking about. All those itty bitty little pieces that stick. And get my handy dandy scraper here. And we're gonna scrape my bowl. Aaron got me this here in our house remodel. He got me this little scraper. It's a KitchenAid. And I will not lie, it's rather nice. Especially for when you're making bread, because it does just get it right off the bowl. Now, I don't do grease pans. I don't do anything like that, or grease bowls. I've done it. I've done the grease bowls. I've done all of that. I've not seen the benefit to not greasing my bowl at all. Like at all. I've never really had stick. If you have a stick, use a scraper. It'll come right off. I've never had any issues with it at all. I feel like sometimes we get a lot of wasted steps. But again, I am not a baking scientist. I don't know the method or the madness or the genius of it. I'm just a simple mom who's trying to make life a little bit easier. And if it works with me skipping a step, and I don't have to use as much of my olive oil, because, you know, olive oil's expensive. Ingredients are expensive, and hey, I'm gonna go that route. Sorry, I have to keep pulling up my bracelet. And I don't want to overwork this dough, but it is an awful big piece of dough. So we do want to make sure we're getting it good and incorporating. We're going to get both hands in this. And look at this sucker. You know, I would never believe this was sourdough, but it's not real sourdough. It's a discard recipe. And it will just puff up beautifully. It does. It just puffs up so nicely. Smells so good. I remember when I first made it between Aaron and Isabel, they hang one whole loaf just about within a couple of hours, because we had it for breakfast the next morning. I baked it and we had it for breakfast, and I couldn't get them out of it. They were so like, oh, this is so good. And normally Isabel's like a next day bread person, and she's finally getting to where she likes a little bit of bread. Mostly with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but so I'm going to take my scraper. I'm going to use it to help me cut this in half. It's a little bit easier than me using my hands. We're just going to make this in just a little bit more. Now this is a little bit wetter, and it does feel a little different, but it is super similar to my regular bread recipe. Super similar. So I will go this route all day, every day, when it comes down to simplicity for what I'm doing, because that's the name of the game. I'm a simple homestead mom. Now I can't wait to try this with like our own ground flour, which I'm getting closer to being ready to try that. I'm going to start slowly incorporating that here in the next couple of months. But because we went to homestead conference and I was talking to the lady about flours, and she was like, well, I do sourdough, and there's a sourdough discard recipe, and I'm wondering, am I going to lose, like, is it going to be worth it for me to grind flour for these? She's like, I don't know, I don't do sourdough. Like, this isn't something I would look at. So, but it was a good question, one that she hadn't thought of. So here we go. 2 beautiful halves of this massive amount of bread that we're going to make. And again, we're going to make loaves of bread, we're going to make rolls, we're going to make hoagie rolls, we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff though in the freezer for future use. So I'm going to let this sit for 12 hours. We'll come back in the morning, start putting all this into pans, rolls, everything, getting it all into pans. Then we're going to let it sit again. And then we'll be ready to bake it and also start all of that other wonderful bread we're going to be baking. So I'm going to go clean my hands, get these covered up, and get in the bed and see you all in the morning. Okay, new day. Got some sleep, got some rest. Now it's the morning. It's a dark and dreary morning. And now it is time to get these ready for the second proof. This is the sourdough bread, and we're still going to do yeast bread this day as well. But it only takes an hour and 45 minutes for proof, so we don't need to worry about it now. So here's our bread. So we're going to treat it like you do any other bread. So we're just going to punch it down, and then we're just going to start pulling it out. And I'm going to do these one at a time. And you can tell I've got, I don't know if you can see that or not, I've got a plethora over here of lovely dishes because I know I'm going to need them. So I got a whole stack of them because we're going to have to get creative with how we make this bread, which is fine. That's fine. I do have some stainless steel bread pans picked out that I'm going to be getting here in the next little bit, and I'm excited about that. I'm going to get like 24. And they're small, itty bitty little loaf pans. So I feel like that would make better sense for me because I can't get them all in glass. The glass ones are like $10 a piece. I can get stainless steel for like $4 for these big bulk baking days. So I can just make a lot of bread and a couple of rolls. But you could still use rolls like you would bread. It's okay. It's okay. Make it work with what you got. And what we have is we have lots of glass dishes. Now I know a lot of people probably have the aluminum non-stick bread pans. You can use those. We don't use those anymore. I think I actually threw all that away. I've tried to throw as many of those things away as I can. The only thing I still have that's non-stick are my baking sheets. I've not replaced those just yet. So we're going to split this into 5 pieces. We're going to do this 2 times. Just keep going through. And I'll probably leave most of this stuff out because I'm going to make more bread. I'm going to be making more bread. There's no reason for me to take all of this and wash it when I know I'm going to be making more bread. Doesn't make sense to me. I kind of want everything to be about the same weight. So it kind of look the same when I kind of roll it into a little ball. This one's a little bit bigger. And we'll split it here. And I'm just eyeballing it. I don't care if you want to weigh it, you can. I don't do any of that. Like I said, I keep my recipes super simple whenever I'm working these. So we're going to go ahead and start with our actual bread recipes, or bread dishes. So I've got this one, and then we will use my round one. What I do with the round one, I'll kind of show you. These don't make the most beautiful loaves of bread like these two, but it works. In a pinch, I'll get 2 loaves in there. And I've got a clean paper towel here. We're going to be using it up to help us move this oil around to get everything nice and oiled. It's our goal here. Get all of it nice and oiled. And this is like a quick hack if you don't use like cooking spray. You need to like oil up a lot of stuff because you'll soak up a lot of oil on your thing. Normally I wouldn't use this unless I'm doing a lot of cooking because you lose a lot of your oil to the paper towel.
But if you're doing a lot of cooking, this is actually makes more sense because you're not going to waste it. You're just going to, it'll use what's on there and get your pans nice and greased. You might have to pour a little bit, but not as much as you think. Okay, there's that. Now let's get these ready to go. And then I'm just going to mold these out like I would any other loaf of bread so you all can see. And I don't have like the perfect kneading method. I just kind of roll it and make it look as clean as I can. I have found if I use my body weight and I just do it a couple of times, you can tell this is about what I want it to look like. We'll do this one. And I just do kind of roll it out like you do any kind of dough. And this is the kneading method I have found works really well for me. And as you can see, this is a sourdough discard bread, and it works just like I am working with a yeast bread. You're like, well, then Julia, this doesn't feel right. It's not sourdough. It feels right to me. That's all I care about. I would tell you to do what works for you. If sourdough works for you, you are superwoman. It does not work for me. It just takes way too long for me personally. And as you notice, this recipe has absolutely no stretches and folds, none of that extra intense stuff. All it is put it in the bowl, let it rise, put it in the pan, let it rise, and then you're done. So that's what I like about this recipe. Okay, now here's where we get a little bit creative. And it does work. They'll fill out the bowl and they will be kind of half circle shape. I do them in two. You could do it in one. I do it in two because it's easier than me cutting the loaf of bread in half because it's already kind of pre-cut. So that's why I do it in two. You're like, well, you just do one big circle, Julie, and it's done. And yeah, you can. But for me, this just makes better sense. Just put one there. Look at the other one. Let's do a little bit of kneading. As you can see, I've already got 4 loaves here, and we're just now like getting started. Now I am tempted to test. I have my lovely Pyrex here, and it is about the same height as this one. I'm really tempted to test what would happen if I did 2 loaves in it. And I think that's what I'm going to do this time, because I know I don't care that it's the most beautiful bread. I just care that it works, we can eat it. And I don't care that it overlaps. None of that really bothers me, but it typically will not overlap anything this tall. So I think I want to try it, because when I looked at it the other day, I was like, man, I wonder if I can make a loaf of bread in there, since I'm ran out of bread pans. This is kind of how you do it when you're a small family, you don't have a lot of stuff, or you're any size family and you're trying to bulk cook. You make what you got work for you. And if the bread touches, yes, like I said, if it's not perfect and you don't want to eat it as bread, you can eat it as a French toast loaf, anything like that. Anything. You have so many options, it's not even funny. Okay, here is loaf number 2. I'm gonna pull out all that goodness. This was the one that didn't have anything in it, so I'm not pulling up a whole bunch of extra flour. Trying to make sure I don't have a pan fall into the floor. So I could keep it all in one big dough, but I have found making things a little bit more manageable is kind of important whenever I'm working with bulk cooking, especially things like this. I'd rather wash another bowl and get things done than to make it so unmanageable that I can't really work through it. So I will use 2 bowls or to have a kitchen explosion. So just keep kind of make it look like a big worm. And this one is where we're going to get a lot of other things from it. Like we're going to get a roll. We're going to get a pan of rolls, and then we're going to focus on bagels. So we're going to do both. So let's go ahead and get, let's see, try to feel, no, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. Like I said, I am not a food scientist. I am not a baking scientist. I am just a home cook who works really, really hard. So if I've said something like this doesn't work, or you're like this, she don't know what she's talking about. I'm just doing things that make sense to me and how it works best for me. I don't really focus on anything else whenever I'm cooking food for my family. Big pan. This one, I got this for, I think, was it Christmas a year ago or 2 years ago? It's one of the things I asked for. They all have lids, and I love that because it does make my life a lot easier. Get it greased. I'll put that there because I'm going to need it here in a minute. Okay, and then we're just going to go ahead and knead our big roll. And I want to go ahead and get the kneading out of the way on the front end, because we get the kneading done on the front end, then it's a lot less work on the back end. I'm probably going to go ahead and knead everything. I love this recipe because I feel like for me, all I have to do is watch for it to double in size. I don't have to babysit it. I don't have to make sure I mess it up because I overproof it. I felt like for me, it was just a lot of extra steps with traditional sourdough, the artisanal bread, compared to me just being able to make bread. It works for us. It really just depends on what you're trying to do. I don't want to do stretches and folds or anything like that. I just want a good loaf of bread. And like I said, my family, they like it even better. They really, really do. So now you might be intimidated by doing this much. I tell you, cut in half. You can do 1.5 loaves of bread, and that's perfectly fine. I'm always a fan of cutting things in half. I love to cut things in half to try them. I love to cut things in half to keep things going. To me, it makes sense. I'm not a let's waste it to try it. I will always cut things down and try it with a much smaller portion before I ever go and do a big portion. But for me with bread, I can do so many things with it. I usually will make the full recipe. If we don't like it that way, I can hide it. You can so hide it. You can hide it in croutons. You can hide it in a French toast bake. You can hide it in so many different ways. Stuffing, anything. Like you can add enough flavor to bread to where nobody's ever even going to know you had bread. Now, when I first made this recipe, I made it in this pan to just have one dish. And those loaves just kind of exploded. Okay, so now we are going to start making our rolls. We're just going to see how far we go. We are going to try to get these about, I don't make big rolls. I make little rolls. That's our personal preference because it just is. You could tell I'm kind of cutting an end off here occasionally because that makes like a roll. So they're not too terribly huge. We'll just, and again, I don't care about these being perfect. As long as it's in a nice little ball, Nice little ball. Really all I care about. And some of them are going to be bigger, some of them are going to be smaller. I typically tend to put the ones that are smaller on another end of my pan. And this is because of my little. If they're smaller, she might eat more of a whole one. Like again, she's not a huge bread eater. Peanut butter and jelly is about my limit for her. But I do try to always have a few small ones. Now, how do I store all this bread? So we're going to put it in bags. We're going to have it separated out per loaf. We will let it cool, of course. Don't put piping hot bread in the freezer. Let it cool, probably overnight. Get it in the freezer. I'll do the rolls in like little individual baggies. That works really well. And just let it sit. And we'll just pull them out as needed. I find if I keep it to where it's really easy for me to separate. That's kind of key. And if you don't want to go through this, you don't want to make like a half loaf. Like when we do the yeast bread, I will be making half loaves for these because I like to keep those separated. It works really, really well for us. I can just pull out a half of a loaf of bread. And a lot of times that'll be enough for us for a week versus a whole loaf of bread. Depending on what we're eating. But if you're wanting to focus more on like having more of the whole bread or anything like that, then just, make it the way your family needs. This is really based on what your family needs. Smaller families, you're going to have to compensate a little bit. Bigger families, you're going to have to make more. You're just going to have to make more. But smaller families, you can make like one recipe of bread and make that last you several weeks if you do it the right way. I'm sorry, my nose is wanting to I'm in the itch right now. And we just get these made and we're going to start the next batch. And it's not taking that long. This is real time. We are a real family. And like I said, most of the time I just really focus on how to save money, how to do things, as naturally as we can, as healthy as we can, but still making sure we enjoy a lot of the things we enjoyed before. And this is how I do it. By cooking when it's cooler, when it's not so hot, working whenever it's a little bit easier for me. So let's see here. Some of these are just a little bit bigger. That one's quite a bit bigger. As you do things like this, you kind of learn. I feel like a lot of people are intimidated by baking. I know I was for a really long time. I wasn't going to bake bread if I didn't have a bread machine. Like it was my thing. I'm not baking bread unless I have a bread machine. Aaron's like, okay, we'll get one. And I did use that sucker. But as I've went down this journey more and more, we have found that, I can do these things and I can learn how to do these things and I can do them really well. It's just having to go through the learning process. I might put those a little bit closer in the pan. And if you want to cover these with butter, you can. I don't cover mine with anything. It's just an added ingredient. I don't really need to do anything with it. I've never seen the benefit of basting. Never tasted it, never felt the difference. Like I'd rather just put my toast in the microwave with my butter. I really would. Or not the microwave, but my toaster, that put my butter on top of it. Otherwise, I see no benefit whatsoever. Tell me in the comments below, do you see a benefit to coating it in butter or an egg wash? Because, yeah, it gets more golden brown, but I've never really had a problem with anything not getting golden brown. So, I don't know. Again, I just look for where do I have to do the steps? Do I have to do the steps? Does it make sense? Those kinds of things when I'm doing my cooking. we'll just have one more pan. And this might not seem like a lot of bread, but it is going to be a lot of bread. And then when we get the other bread ready to go, I'll have a few weeks where I can just, lunch is figured out or breakfast is figured out. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier on this mama. A lot easier. And that's what I like. I like to make my life a little bit easier. It takes a little bit of work, but for me, this doesn't take much more work than me working with one batch of the recipe versus just doubling or tripling it up. I don't feel like it might just take me just a little bit longer to go through all of these small things, but definitely makes it worth it for us. I just need 2 more little rolls. These turned out actually quite nice, quite lovely. When they puff up, they'll be lovely. Now I will label these. Normally I don't label bread, but where I have 2 different types of bread going here, I will probably label these so we know which one's yeast, which one's sourdough. And here we are, our lovely rolls. Now let's work on hoagies. So hoagies I do a little bit different. And again, I don't try to make these perfect. I really don't. I just try to get them to about the size that we would want to eat them. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything cut up, and I would like to get 2 per row. So I think I probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14. One, 2, and this, we're not going to have 14 here. 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll probably get 8. Well, these I do want to make sure they're a little closer to weight. Not that it matters terribly much. So now how I do my hoagies, or longer, you know, little bun-like things, like I do any kneading. I just make mini loaves of bread. That's all I do. I just make my mini loaves of bread. So that's how I treat it, and it works. And I like to have these on hand for, say it's a busy day, and kind of tell they're not perfect. They're not perfect. I know a lot of people who would do a lot better job than me, but they are very good. And this does work out really well for us. But I use these for, like, if I want to take like buffalo chicken and make a really quick buffalo chicken sandwich. This is good for like a really fast meal. And that's what I've been missing right now, are having things where I can make a really fast meal. Let's scooch that over just a little bit. I might be able to get one more. It's kind of too thick. I don't like a lot of bread in mine. I just do not. I like mine to be a little thinner, a little less bready. So I'm not throwing all the bread away. Yeah. I can get more than 8. I might get 10. Maybe even 12. We'll see. That's a good size for me. Aaron doesn't mind the big one, so I'll probably do but I do know he could care less if it's the bigger ones or the smaller ones. I just don't want that much bread, because once it explodes, it grows, and you bake it, it's going to be so much thicker to eat, and I don't really care for that personally. Personally, that's just how I am. Let me know in the comments below. How do you like your hoagies? Do you like them thick? Do you like that's one of the problems I have going to like a sandwich shop. There's just so much bread. There's so much bread. I'm more of a, I want the meat in the middle, not really the bread. I want the meat and the cheese. I want the bread to complement, not overwhelm me. Still got a little bit too much. And again, these are not perfect, but they work for my family. And that's all I care about. I feel like we focus too much. Focus way too much on all the other stuff. When all we need to focus on is what does Julie and Aaron's family need? What does your family need? How does frugality work for your family? And that's really what I focus on. How frugality works for my family. What do I need to do to make it work better? And one of the things I've been doing is I've been cooking with a little convection top for like fast meals, like eggs. The reason why is because that thing, we bought it for emergencies. Actually, we bought it for emergencies, and I was like, I wonder, we got it to where it goes down to 600 watts because we wanted the lowest wattage one we could find that would cook. I was like, I don't really need it to do like a massive amount of cooking, just enough to heat some stuff up. Okay, we found it 600 watts. I was like, can't I just use it now? Can't I use it now? I could set it up on my stove, use it now, or not my stove, but set up on my countertop, use it now and save some money because it uses at least half the electricity my regular stovetop does. So that does make sense. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. We did get 14. A few of them are a little bigger. That's okay. I could go through and pull those out, but I don't want to. So a few of them are a little bit bigger. Now, what do we do? So these are done, and we've got to let them rise. We're going to do the second proof, second rise. That's going to take 8 to 12 hours. So in about 5 hours, I'm going to come back. I'm going to check, see where we are. I'm going to cover them, just let them sit here and do their thing. 5 hours, I'm going to check. 6 hours, I'm going to check. 7, 8, till we're ready, and then we'll bake them. And when we come back, we will make the rest of that bread because, as you see, I've used all my pans. So I'm going to need these to put the new bread in. So when we come back, I'll make the rest of the bread, and we will get all the rest of this done. It's been about 5 hours. 5 hours, and my bread is ready to bake. So you can tell these actually do look very, very pretty, even if I have 2 loaves per pan. This one right here worked out better than I thought it would. It fits in there really pretty. Again, they're not like perfect, but it's good enough to make do with what I currently have on hand. I do have my little metal pans coming. We just ordered those, so I'm really happy about that. But I'm gonna get the oven on. We're gonna do 350. So we're gonna get that going. Now I need to get the yeast started for our yeast bread. Now we're going to triple this one as well, because I'm utilizing these few days that we have of super cool weather. I'm gonna get as much of this stuff done that I can. So I've got 6 cups of hot water in my bowl here. We are going to do, I need 1.5 tablespoons of yeast per each. So there's 1. There's 1/2. So we did about 4.5 tablespoons of yeast there, give or take a little bit. We need 3/4 a cup of sugar. This is a 1/4 cup. This is what I keep in my sugar. You all could be like, Julia, you shouldn't keep measuring cups and all your stuff. I do. I have enough measuring cups that I can keep measuring cups everywhere. And now we just let the yeast do what it needs to. I'm going to take a fork and just blend it up really fast. Get it good and bubbly. It won't take it very long because that water was hot. So as long as that water's hot, your yeast will get activated really, really fast. But I do want to get it stirred up. So here is what we look like in my great giant bowl. Now, I'm probably going to go ahead and put some of these in the oven. I will not get all these baked in the first round. It takes about 30-40 minutes, give or take, on your oven. So that's why I kind of had to wait to do this bread, because I needed to let this rise, but I also need to give this an hour, but I need to have some pans to put it in. I don't want to have to rewash a whole bunch of pans. All these are already, you know, being used. I'll pop them out and put new in it. And that way I only have to wash one set of pans. So let's see here. Go ahead and get this in. Now, I typically don't wait for my oven to get to perfect temperature. I never have. I never have. I've not had a single problem with my bread not doing what it needs to do, ever. But I'm absolutely positive that a lot of you just clutched your pearls. Okay, that one won't fit. We're playing baking pan Jenga. Okay, so these two will go next, and that's fine. So we have those going, and we're gonna let this get bubbly while everything's cooking, and I'll be right back in just a second. So I gotta tell y'all, house smells amazing. I can already smell the bread baking. It was smelling really good too. Even though I made a sourdough discard recipe, it smelled very yeasty when we woke up this morning. Got a little tickle in my throat. And our yeast bread is ready to go. And I don't know if you all can get a good look at that, but we are foaming, which is what we want with yeast. I actually had just bought this yeast a little while ago. I had ran out. Completely ran out. So I had to buy 4 pounds on Amazon. That's the cheapest I can get it in all reality. So now we are going to start adding ingredients. I'm going to start with some flour, then I will get the salt. So I'm going to do my first round of flour, and that is 5 cups of flour. And I'm almost through with this bag. Set that to the side and finish filling her up. We've got 2 more cups to go. If I don't get a face full of flour first. So this is the flour we like to use. I used to be a White Lily flour person, but I feel like since I was a kid, when I was making homemade biscuits, White Lily, not quite the same. But when I was a kid and we were making biscuits, we used self-rising flour. I don't ever remember using anything. I think one time I got all-purpose, and my grandma was like, "What did you do? You got the wrong flour." And I learned really quick what all-purpose and self-rising was. Now, as I became a cook of my own right, home cook, home chef, whatever you want to call it, I kind of know which flours work best for us, and I don't buy self-rising anymore. I only buy all-purpose. And this one's empty, so let's get a new one. Try to get all of it out. It's so expensive, can't get all of it out. Now I'm not having to go through it as fast as I was before. We have found that Aaron has a really hard time with my salad dressings because they're vinegar based. So we think he's having an issue with vinegar. We're not sure. We think it's the histamine is what we're looking at. So he has an issue with histamine, which makes sense because he had a reaction to chicory. He's had a reaction to some fishes that are high in histamines like salmon. And we're wondering if that's causing part of our problem. So we're just testing different things to see. We're a testing family. Now we're going to add our salt, and I just do a good cupful. My hand. I'm a hand spice measure or spoon measure, one or the other. I don't typically use measuring spoons unless I'm like trying to make something exact, and that doesn't happen very often when it comes to spices. I will say I did it, and it was teaspoons. The recipe called for teaspoons. I was making taco seasoning. I did it in tablespoons, and I did it times 3. So I like quadrupled the amount that I actually needed in this recipe. It was a massive amount of taco seasoning. So now we're just going to start our slurry and start slowly mixing in all of this flour. Remember, this is a times 3 recipe. I'm going to make sure I got everything here. I got the milk, or milk water, the sweetener, the yeast, the salt, the oil, the flour. So we are good. I have to check. I have made pumpkin pie before without adding the sugar. It's my very first pumpkin pie. I'm surprised Aaron didn't run for the hills. I'd already won him by that point, but he should have ran for the hills. We had to go buy a pumpkin pie because it was bad. But I have to be a bit careful because I will get involved and I will forget what I'm doing. If you notice, I'm using my really pretty copper this week. They really are quite lovely. But I do love my metal ones, these magnetic ones. I've got to tell you, these have become my top faves, my absolute favorite. So we keep mixing here, get it formed. And then we're just going to let it sit for an hour. This is like one of the easiest bread recipes. It's not a huge amount of ingredients. It's super simple, and you get to really make it what you want it to be. I love it with a little bit of butter. A little bit of butter on toast. After it's cooled just enough to melt the butter, just a little bit, so you can still taste the butter. I'm a little particular about toast. Just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go 3 cups. What I don't want to do is I don't want to over flour this. And with bread, I have found that even though I can follow the same recipe, the exact same every single time, I kind of have to gauge my flour. When you live in a humid area, I feel like you have to be very careful with certain things that you're cooking. And I have found, like, if it's raining outside or if it's really humid in the house, it just affects how everything does. I know I can't make fudge if I wanted to set if it's raining outside. I won't make fudge. I won't even bother. There's no reason to make fudge if it's raining outside. It will not set up here. Everybody's like that. I'm sure a lot of you are like, that's an old wives' tale, but something we follow, and I don't have problems with the fudge setting up. But I haven't made it a really long time. I need to make some. But I make the peanut butter balls, and my mom makes a lot of candy. We would stand in the kitchen for hours making candy. I don't do all that, personally. For me, I make a little bit of candy, and to me that should be enough. I make a lot of a little bit of candy. The one thing my family wants is peanut butter balls, so guess what we make? So now we're at the point where I can get this off the spoon. I like to get as much of it off, and I'm sure you all noticed that yesterday. I'll take and add flour to my spoon to pull all of it off. It's easier to clean, and I don't waste all that goodness. We don't want to waste. Waste not, want not. That's why I use any pieces of the bread we don't eat. I throw those into a bag in the freezer for croutons. Erin loves my croutons, and Isabel does too. I'll use those as like a side item when I need her to have something to go with dinner, or if she wants a snack, I'll go pull her hair, have the croutons, because they're very well seasoned. And the last time I made them, I did a huge batch of them when I was cleaning out the freezer because our refrigerator had to be repaired. Our freezer, so they don't have like a traditional defrost in the newer ones like our old one did, and it would defrost itself. Nope, it's something like, he said it works like a big dehumidifier, so it pulls the air out, but it had stopped working. The circuits had, so we had to get those replaced. And when he came over and he did that, I had to end up emptying out my freezer. So I had all these bread pieces, and I was like, what am I going to do with these? Like, I'm going to make croutons. I'm going to make croutons, and I'll cook them up, and then I will put them in jars and seal them. These things lasted for weeks. And it is so much cheaper to buy croutons now. We used to get croutons for under $1. Under $1 when we were buying them. And And believe me when I say we would come out of Aldi's with like 10 to 15 bags of croutons. Aaron wouldn't eat them all at one time, but he would. That was his snack. It was his snack. See, my bread's coming together. I'm gonna need probably a smidget more flour, but not much. But he would eat them. They were his snack. They were his go-to. He would eat them with salads, but really they were his favorite snack to have, which was fine. It was fine. It was better than chips or anything like that, in all reality. So he would have his croutons, and then they just kept getting more and more expensive. The price kept going up. We went from 70-some cents to $1. We're like, okay, that's fine. Then from $1 up to like the cheapest you can get them now is like $1.25, and those are the cheap ones. It's like, I don't really feel comfortable with that. And then when I started making them from old bread, we really realized we liked them. This was the first time I made them for long-term use. I actually thought I hadn't put enough oil in it, but Aaron said that they were actually better. So I used a little less oil. And I'm almost tempted to try it without oil and to try it with chicken broth. Because you can make croutons in a freeze dryer with chicken broth as the thing that kind of softens them, and then it kind of cooks into the flavor. I think that would work ideal for us, because then it would just, you know, bake them in the oven, put them in the dehydrator or whatever, and they would get good and crispy. So I need just a little bit more flour. I don't know how much I put in, probably like a cup. I know it by feel. I made it enough. I could tell you by feel. And this did not come to me on my first time. It took time to learn this. This doesn't happen overnight. If you're wanting to make bread, go look for a bread machine. You can get them super cheap. I see them all the time on the bread machine group on Facebook. All the time. People find them all the time at their local Goodwills and things like that. You can make a 2-pound loaf of bread or a 1-pound loaf of bread, whatever you need. Set it up, put the ingredients in, set it, forget it. As long as you follow the rules. If you don't follow the rules and actually understand what you're doing, it don't work out that well. I've had some really bad ones, and I've seen some really bad ones. So you can tell, like, you're like, this looks exactly like what you just made, Julia. It does, but they're two totally different types of bread. The ingredients are just about the same though. And I'm going to take my scraper across the bottom here. Just a few minutes. This one sticks a little bit more compared to, sorry, my glasses are falling off, my other. And if my glasses bother you, I do apologize. They are a particular brand that are supposed to help mitigate headaches. Like, they kind of lessen the amount of light that you see. You know, especially with filming, it kind of helps. But I wear them all the time. I wear these or the sunglasses, and it just makes the world a little bit darker. I live up with a world of rose-colored world now. It is very different. When I take them off, it's like everything's blue. When I take them off, like the world turns blue, because I basically live in these things. The only time I take them off is to go get in the shower, to go to sleep. But if I forget to put them on, like, immediately when I get out of the bed, everything just turns a little bit blue. But I'm not squinting anymore, which is nice. So here we go. She's ready. She's ready. Now we're gonna give her an hour to sit. I'm gonna check and get those little pieces off my fingers really fast. I'm going to open up my oven. Work those in a bit. And my hands are clean before somebody yells at me. Try to set it up so y'all don't have to watch me do my hands during the video. Check my oven. Bread needs just a few more minutes. So that's going to finish baking. This we're going to let rise for an hour. Let it do its thing. Once it's done, we will get it into pans and let it do its second proof. My bread is ready, the yeast bread. So here we go, ready to go. It's a huge bowl of yeast bread, and the loaf of bread for the sourdough discard has came out lovely. Lovely, lovely. Smells so good. Smells so good. So they're perfect. They're perfect. Turned out better than I could have imagined. And for those of you who think I did too much, I really didn't. Really didn't. You can use it for so many ways. So many ways. I'd rather get all my baking done in one day. So I've got my pan out here, and the rolls are in the oven right now. So they'll do their thing. I'm gonna pull out all of the goodness. We don't want to waste anything. Didn't stick nearly as bad as the sourdough did, but I put the liquid in the sourdough first because I didn't want to do more dishes than I needed to. And I've got these 4 pans here. We'll put our loaves of bread in, so we'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 loaves of bread out of this, and then some rolls, and got some flour. I will need more flour for this than I did the sourdough. The sourdough didn't really stick as bad. Like, you can already tell this is stuck pretty bad to my hands. The sourdough didn't really stick to my hands at that point. They weren't wet or anything like that. It just kind of worked out a lot better. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull off. I'm gonna cut this in half. You can tell I kept this from where I did the sourdough a couple of hours ago. I wasn't going to wash it, then have to rewash it again. That's crazy to me. That's just utterly insane. I will, if I'm making breakfast, I will use my skillet for the pancakes. I'll use it for the eggs. I'm not getting out another skillet to make my eggs when my pancakes didn't do anything. If I make sausage or something, sausage is done, I will throw that into the, it's a little small for a loaf of bread. I need to hit this into 3 pieces. I still think it's a little bit too small. And you all might be hearing my little convection here. I've got to make dinner. So dinner has started. I've got water in my pot boiling to make some spicy ziti for dinner today, or this week. And breakfast is eggs, because guess what? I've got a lot of eggs. So we keep it simple. We're having sandwiches for lunch and eggs for breakfast. So here we go. Let's get that into a pan. And the next one. When I get to the rolls, I'm going to need a bit more flour. I don't really care about it so much for the loaves of bread. Again, I don't try to make these perfect. I do the best I can, but I'm not spending 10 hours on a loaf of bread. I don't even want to spend 10 minutes on it. I'm a speed cooker. Let's get it done. Now, normally I would cut those in half, but because I'm making these in bulk like this, I'm not going to cut those in half and do 2 mini loaves per. I'm just going to go ahead and do the big ones. Well, actually, you know what? For this one, I might see how it does if I do 4 mini loaves. And when you do a mini loaf, I need some flour. When you do a mini loaf, all you're doing is cutting it in half. You're treating it just like you would a regular loaf of bread. So we just keep pushing through, getting it all nice and done. You're just going to make it into your little ball, because as it rises, it's going to kind of form in the pan the way you need it to. And these I will kind of make like a little bit more of a circle, kind of like a little square, like a larger roll. That's what I think of it. My mini loaves are like a really large roll. You can buy mini loaf pans. I've seen those on Amazon when I've been looking for, I'm always looking for loaf pans, but I just wanted more of like a 1 pound loaf that's kind of just like a good size for us. So we're gonna split this into 3. So 2. Okay. So that's 1, 2, 1, 2. No, that's about right. That is about right. So I should only have bread for this one. This makes, each recipe makes 2 loaves of bread. So, oops, and my water's boiling. Trying to find a place to stick my lid. Sorry. So you get to see me cook and you get to see me bake. There, this is real life, people. This is real life. You can't get much more real than baking in bulk and also cooking dinner. I will say I have really liked having this little convection here. It does help. And we're just going to let that cook. And it should be done here in just a minute. So get these loaves in. So this will just be a bread run. I thought I was going to have rolls, but this will just be a bread run for this one. It won't actually be anything else. See, just perfect. And I'll show you what that looks like in the dish. So lovely. These will rise for 45 minutes and they'll go straight into the oven. These will not take very long to rise at all. They just will not. You can see why I like this, the regular bread so much better. It's just so much faster. Okay. We're golden. Beautiful. Edible. And my family will enjoy it. So I'm going to get these in the oven as soon as they get to double their size. Oh, I'm so sorry. Whew, that came all of a sudden. I'll get these in the oven. I'll get the other ones out, let everything sit, and then we're going to have so much bread in the freezer, fill up my freezer, feed my family. I'm feeling some pressure just come away by getting this all baked. So we'll come back just as soon as everything's done.
My favorite part.
So here's what we ended up with. We ended up with 12 loaves. 2 of those loaves are 4 mini loaves, as you can see, of bread. We have 14 hoagie rolls and 24 rolls. So a lot
23.
to go. 23. Well, this will be part of your dinner, so don't eat the whole thing.
I'm just going to eat the whole thing.
He's going to eat the whole thing. Okay, I'll get you another one. This is sourdough.
Is this our sourdough one? Our sourdough starter?
Yes.
That was good.
It was good. They taste like the first bread batch I made. Mm-hmm. With that sour note at the end.
Just got the little twang to it, you know.
At the end.
So, you know what I'm going to enjoy. But make sure to go and check out our link tree with all of our other content. And
as always, thank you for joining us on The Canny Couple, where we work hard, live simple, and enjoy life. Have a wonderful day.